you very much.
No offense.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the FOSA board meeting for June the 19th of 2019. I'm Keith Hilgendorf, Vice President, and we will call the meeting to order at 11:02. Betty, would you give us a roll call, please?
Jerry Favaro,
Here.
Keith Hilgendorf,
Here.
Linda Fisher,
Here.
John Folk,
Here.
Francine Miller. Francine's not here. Bob Talley,
Here.
Calvin Stone.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our technology being taped together is working so far. Hang with us. We'll continue. Accept a motion to amend or approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Folk, second.
I'll second.
Second by Fisher. Any discussion of the board? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
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 We have a 7-second delay or longer. And opposed, nay. No nays, the agenda is approved. I'd like to, by remote control, call on our president, Jerry Favaro, for his president's general comments. Jerry?
Okay, well, depending on what time zone you're in, it's afternoon for me, so I'm saying good afternoon, but you're probably still morning, so good morning. My comments are pretty brief. The one thing I really do want to say is that I think that we owe a great thanks to
Francine
Betty.
Miller.
Thank you, Francine. We're promoted.
Thank you.
A thank you to Betty for all the work that she has done with the committee she's on, or that she manages, the compliance committee. I've gotten favorable reports on numerous things that have been taken care of since I left, and all due to her endeavors. I also want to compliment her on the fact that she completed the Certified Manager of Community Associations program, which is a pretty intense program, getting people ready to take over, to do the kind of jobs that she's taking on now, and to go further in a career. So she just completed that successfully, and congratulations. That's a title well deserved. I know that you're intent on what you do, and I appreciate all the work that you do. I would also like to thank Linda Fisher, along with K2, Heather, and some of the other crew. I don't have everybody's name, so if I miss your name, I'm sorry. You are included in this, but for all those that did do all the work, the legwork on getting the charters completed, the job descriptions completed, finalized. I know that John Millar has been deeply involved with getting those things taken care of, and a big thanks to all of you who participated in that process. It's a project that needed to be completed. It's procedural stuff. It's pretty mundane kind of stuff to a point, but in reality, it's a lot of work to put it all together. And I thank you all for your efforts and endeavors to get to the point where we're going to be completing that process as part of our completing the merger process. Other than that, I don't have much else. K2, you can take it back at this point, but thank you all for being here. I don't know who's there because I haven't been given a roster, but I hope there's a good enough attendance that you'll hear the information that's being passed and that you take it and Steady among those who aren't there. All right, K2, go ahead.
Thank you, Jerry. We have over 60, maybe approaching 70 residents in attendance here today. So,
Very good.
and they were all missing your bright and shiny face. Whoops, that didn't get 100% approval. Close, but not quite. Okay, moving right along, next is the community forum. We would ask that you step forward to the floor microphone here, state your name, address, and your comment. Please limit your comment to 3 minutes to allow for all residents to have the opportunity to speak. The community forum. Yes, Leslie, would you step up, please? Yes, ma'am. We have to have our remote directors hear you and speak right into the microphone.
No, it's not on.
Hello? Okay. All right, I have a few comments, concerns, and questions. I think the state of Arizona and FOSA has excluded stopping at stop signs in the law, but I do want to remind people that there are stop signs and you need to stop, and I almost got hit walking down Parkview Circle the other day, and someone came up to the side street intersection and they were making a right, and I was coming up the other direction, and they looked to make sure that there was no cars coming to their left, but not who was on the right, and if I would have had 2 more steps, they would have run over my feet. And then speeding is a problem, and my suggestion is if you have a problem going 25, put your cruise control on. And then I was wondering when a dog park is going to be started work on. My concern is that on Sunday, going to church here in the building, as I walked in, 3 people were out there letting their dogs poop as I walked into church on Sunday. And that's pretty unacceptable.
And I live at 1113 South Firefly Avenue. I'm concerned about the parks, the green parks. I know we're not watering them, but everyone knows in Arizona there's terrible fires. And I would hate to see one of those green parks go up in flames. And I think we need to do something about it, whether we water them part-time or something. But if you're gonna let it grow and just let it grow into weeds, that's a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Greaves, 828 South 82nd Way.
Barbara, could you get a little bit closer, like you're eating that microphone? Very good deal.
Actually, I don't need a microphone. Okay. I think one of the things that we have to consider in this park is the age of it. And the fact that before we do a bunch of building sports complex or whatever, we get everything fixed that needs fixing. We have roads, we have drainage system, we have, if you'll look at the ceiling, we have no fire extinguishers in a place where hundreds of people come into a dance. Before we do anything fancy, how about we fix what we have and bring it up to code?
Good comment. As we go through this, there are a lot of projects that are in process. There are a lot of investigation and research projects that continue so that we can address your concerns. Moving along to reports, and Captain Gary, I don't see, he must be functioning in our safe and secure mode. We'll call on the Administration Division, Linda Fisher. Second that?
Oh, you seconded it.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the June 6th board workshop.
Seconded?
I second that.
Calvin Stone, from his office next to a lake in Canada, has seconded it. All those in...
Any discussion?
Any discussion on it?
Thank you, Linda.
Hearing none, call for a vote. Those in favor, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed, no.
As of May 31st, 2019, there's not a lot of monthly activity because this is the beginning of our slow season for activities. However, you will see that our assessment revenue and contributions and transfers to reserves are the same. Just keep in mind that we do recognize as revenue 1/12 of the annual assessment fees every month, so that doesn't change. We also contribute 1/12 of the annual budget amount to the reserves, so that also does not change. Fountain of the Sun has engaged an engineering firm to do a new reserve study. Once that reserve study is completed, then we expect the draft in August and a final draft in September. That will give us an idea, as a lot of people are familiar with the term funded, reserve funded. What percent funded are we of the reserve? I don't show those numbers on here because we really...
For those of us that have been around FOS for some time, you're seeing a much clearer financial report and a much clearer tracking of numbers, both revenues and expenses. And thanks go to both Treasurer John Folk and General Manager John Millar.
So I just want to give an update on the Dr. Holtzman study. She is working on our final report. It's pretty lengthy, so it does take her a while, but she has said she's still working on it, and it should be ready by the end of June, and she'll send a draft to the board for their review, and then it will be finalized and made available to the community. So we'll have that available online and then printed versions as well for anybody who wants it. So we're still working on that. We are working in the office on getting ready for next season. So we're printing all of our tickets, all of our flyers and everything for all of our events. Our season event guide will be available October 1st. So we'll have printed copies in the office, we'll have it in the newspaper and on the website for all of the events that will be happening next season, and tickets.
The new resident orientation meeting yesterday, I believe we had some 20 attending or more, and I see a couple of those bright faces back here again today listening to us. Thank you for your attendance. And Operations Division, first up, Director Bob Talley.
All right. The Infrastructure Maintenance Committee is working on two major projects that we will report on today. The Pueblo Road Drainage Improvement Project will be discussed in the Executive Division by Mr. Millar and Mr. Bavaro and Mr. Hildendorf, which is now a board project that the board is specifically pursuing and taking interest in because of the magnitude of the project. The second large project is the renovation of the admin building, which is a east approach. The architect
expedited review, which will provide a 10-day period of response for the city, which will then all the red lines or comments that the city makes will be put into the plans, and then it will go out to construction bids to a minimum of 3 contractors, of which the architect will be working with us on selection of those contractors. The phase 1 of the project is the completion of the merger, which is now combining the administrative offices of the both HA and CA into one location, which will be on the west side of the building. After I get through grumbling here, John Mohar will go over those plans. The second phase of the project is to take a look at cleaning up some of the existing conditions in the building to help serve the community better. One would be to improve the fireside room. The second is to improve the poolside room. And John will go over those improvements after I get through here. We've had, I think, a really good input to the architectural plan. I think that the concept is that it's not going to be a project with a lot of bells and whistles. It'll be just purely to service our community better. It won't take care of all the issues, but it will give us a 5-year window of good opportunity to have more space and better spaces and more spaces free of any ADA issues. We will wait until we get the construction bids, which will probably be available to us within the next 45 days. Then we'll take a look at how we phase it, and if the numbers come in really well, we can get much of the work done this year. If not, we'll get the office portion done, and we'll do the rest of it in the budget year 2020. And with that, I'll have John draw up the plans and go over the extent of the project and what we're looking at.
Probably simpler just to stand up there and point at the step. So this is the west end of the building, the office space. Currently, there is Heather's office, mine, a back room, and a conference room. So the existing reception area where the post office remains the same. The lobby remains the same. The office is here. They would put in elevate the floor to where that is at the same level as the front reception area. So there is no ADA issue in that regard. And then the space gets divided up into 1, 2, 3 offices, a small conference room, a copy area, and then this area is a front desk area for the administrative offices. So again, all of that gets put together in one place. Existing lakeside room, portion of it becomes what we call a Wi-Fi room. Currently, people it's an ask-catch-can whether or not a Wi-Fi space is available, so it would be dedicated space. A portion of it gets walled off, and a access point from the existing reception area. You get a hall or an opening and a stairway down to replace some of the storage we lose in dividing up the office space a little bit. Again, the Wi-Fi room, because of the shorter ceiling height, It remains with the existing handicap lift will remain, the steps will remain, and that room remains the same, other than being smaller because of that storage room being built. And then the fireside room, again, they would elevate the floor, and that is what they call a cripple wall, basically supporting a new floor, wood frame floor, elevating that to the same height as the lobby area. By getting rid of the stairs, you get more usable square footage within the room itself. And then the wall to the lobby here gets closed off, and because of the height changing, the wall into the lakeside room gets closed off. And again, then your primary entryway is currently, there's an alcove where the piano sits. That opening, that it used to be an opening in a stairway up to the hallway, that would be open again, and your two principal points of ingress and egress are on the two sides there. Again, the floor is elevated, so there is no more stairs. Restroom areas remain the same, no changes to those. Then the biggest difference being where the current FOSA office is, on the front part of the building, that wall would be removed, and then the poolside room becomes one larger room from the patio area all the way up to the front of the building there. What currently is kind of the small warming kitchen, that wall comes all the way down, and you have this is there's currently an outdoor closet that is storage area. The door that goes into it becomes a principal point for ADA access, or fire exit that is ADA accessible. Obviously, it can still use the front door, but you have to have two ingress, egress points for a room of that size. And then this currently, as depicted, is just simply, quote, storage. That it isn't set up initially as a kitchen area. It would be more of a warming kitchen eventually, but for purposes of permitting and that, at this point, we just call it storage. And then the patio area outside, that patio floor area gets elevated to where it's the same height as the floor inside the building, and then the windows are replaced and two doors are put in out to the patio area there. The outside sidewalk would then have to be elevated about the same height, about 8 inches, so that that point is there's be no step there. And again, that would be also ADA accessible. I believe that is principal points. There is some mechanical and electrical, obviously, that has to be done as well. But we are at this point ready to submit that to the city for purposes of permitting. And also we will be, the architect has a list of contractors that will be interested in a job of this scope, and we will be getting the estimates for it shortly. Any questions? Yes, please.
Nancy Dupuy, 109 South Member Circle. Will that poolside room still be used for movies?
Yes, it would. Again, the nice part about this is that in the poolside area in particular, we anticipate the total seating capacity to be approximately 80 to 100 people. Currently, the fireside room, I mean, when we used to have the board meetings in there, if all 60 of you showed up, it would have been pretty cramped. And so that size of room is something that we kind of sadly lack. If anything's more than about 50 people, it pretty much has to be scheduled in this room, and we only have one activity center. And so that's going to be nice and flexible in that regard. The fireside room total square footage really doesn't change, but again, because it's on one level, it's more usable square footage. Yes, ma'am?
Will the office and post office still be open while they're doing this?
We are going to have to adapt. You know, couple of years back when we did the little handicap toilet addition to the front of the building, we kept everything open. Again, that's something that we'll have to, determine once we get our bids in, if we have to do this in one phase or if we have to do it in two. But again, we're gonna have to look at it and see, is if you were able to turn the building over to the contractor and just say, have at it and be done, it would probably reduce the total amount of time. Whether or not that's gonna be a reality is gonna be a little bit up to what the numbers come in at and what the contractor's availability is. Yes, Mr. Lewandowski.
Larry Lewandowski, East Ebola. I believe that's gonna be a beautiful building. We as residents, owners here in the park are part of what's paying for this, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it would be. So we as residents would be able to use these if we wanted to have a get-together.
Yes, sir.
So the board couldn't say that a certain amount of us residents could not use this?
Within the existing rules of the community, yes.
So as homeowners, as people that just like to get together and discuss what's going on in the park and add to what things need to be done here in the park and make the changes in the park accessible for all of us, we would be able to use that because now it's larger and we could actually have a lot of people use that. Is that correct?
As I said, within the existing rules of the community, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
My question is, and I'm sure you probably looked at it, but it's not feasible, but the pool room, currently the way you have it, would there be, I mean, it would be smart to be able to divide those two rooms up since room space is so difficult anyway?
There is a bulkhead in the middle of the room that contains HVAC ducting. At this point, it is not part of the plan. Could it be done? I think that it's possible, but I think the other part is our wish list grew as the scope of this project. Originally, we talked about really only focusing on the west side of the building and then taking the wall out in the poolside room. Under current amounts budgeted, that didn't enter the discussion, but I believe that's something that could be adapted in the future, yes. And again, that was not based on any hard estimate. We didn't have a plan. It was basically in regard to the office space only and the cost to remove one wall in the poolside room. Now we're talking about elevating the floor and doing some other things in the fireside room. We will see when the numbers come in. And again, that's why Director Talley mentioned, is this going to be all done at one time or a phased project? But the nice thing is, again, because of that additional size of the poolside room for meetings and that, the Wi-Fi room, while it's marked as Wi-Fi, it could potentially still be used as a small meeting room. One of the things that we got into with this is you've got to carefully look at your occupancy changes to the different areas. And based on how we've planned this and the space, your public areas have a higher density of usage. Office areas have a smaller density of usage. We believe that we have no obligation to increase the number of parking spaces required or restroom facilities. And that was one of the big reasons why the plan came together as it did, was to make sure that those things didn't kick in. Otherwise, your total cost would really go up through the roof.
You're not going to elevate the lakeside room? We used that in the past as like a pour over for additional people to move into there to here if we had too many for the fireside room.
Well, The poolside room is going to become the principal meeting space,
Okay.
like the lake or fireside room is now. Fireside, again, it isn't going to change. This isn't by any means a perfect plan, but again, there's no potential to elevate the floor in the lakeside room because that ceiling is a much lower ceiling
Okay,
and it wouldn't accommodate that. So that wasn't considered.
didn't think about the ceiling.
I think you agree, as Mr. Millar has puzzled. Our committees and staff have been trying to put together as many pieces to make that puzzle work from a safety standpoint for residents and staff, and additionally, make it more useful in our inventory of available spaces.
Good morning, East Cactus Drive here in Fountain Sun. I listened very closely to the question, and I agree 100% that it would be a wonderful thing for the admin building to be updated and renovated and a better facility. And I was not clear to the question being answered as to what the projected cost was. And the reason that I'm asking this is being in business for a number of years, I built businesses, I built buildings, and I built houses. And when I dealt with architects and contractors along the way, and we had plans, we always had a projected cost. So what I heard was a question very clearly as to what was the projected cost, and what I heard you say back was that last year you estimated it to be $120,000. And what I also heard was it's not $120,000 today. No judgment, just a simple answer to the question. It's hard for me to believe that there's not a cost that has been estimated or projected or something when you're dealing with architects and contractors, because they don't begin a project or do things like this without giving you information. So I believe that that's being withheld at this time, and I believe we're entitled to hear what it is.
That is
Thank you.
incorrect. That is incorrect. Plainly, the only way I can say this, I only got these completed 100% plans yesterday. So no contractor at this point has given us any estimate. I don't believe 120,000 is accurate, but I know that we will get those numbers shortly.